I want to first, we have a lot of new people here today. The last meeting was on, I know, Christmas sing-along of every nature known to man. And so I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We'll do a little bit of catch up. At the end, we're going to show you the website where the video and all the PowerPoint from last time is housed. So we'll get you all caught up. Today is going to be a little bit of a work meeting. We're going to go through that. But I just kind of want to do a couple little introductions. I lost the clicker, Kelsey, there we go. So I hate when she puts my picture on, so I'm right here. Don't look at that. I'm Emily Lorenz. I'm the very proud, I always say that, superintendent of Cal Allen ISD because that's what I am. This is Kelsey Ramos. She's our assistant superintendent of finance and operation. We have a lot of our administrators in the room, both central office, campus administrators, and I personally want to thank our 3 board members who are here. So our board president, Lana Carr, is with us. And then our treasurer, Royce Cameron, is with us, and board member Jerry Baytek is with us. So thank you for your time and being here as well. We have a lot of work and information to go over, and so just kind of hit our agenda running because I want to be respectful of your time. Kelsey's going to go over kind of our preliminary bond capacity. So our last meeting really talked about how school finance works and why we need a bond. And so if you have time and you weren't here last time, we'll show you how to kind of take a look at that. We're going to spend time going over the potential bond projects list, and then we're going to give you a lot of time to do some group work because we really want your input. That's why you're here. You are the most beautiful cross-section of our district. So we have parents from every level. We have PTA moms, we have athlete moms, we have band represented, we have the great girls athletic program represented, we have our academic booster clubs, we have all of our principals. We have a great cross-section of people who know our facilities, our campuses, and our needs, and we need you to help us. So there's going to be a lot of group work today and sharing, and then looking ahead to what's next. Kelsey?
So we're going to just quickly review the bond committee purpose. Why are we here? What are we working towards? So our first meeting was that first block, review the current district financials. We're here today to review our facility needs and make recommendations. The next step is this committee will determine what becomes the bond package. So what needs become part of the bond package, and then consider and make the recommendation to the board to call for a bond election or not. So preliminary bond capacity, I said at the last meeting that I would get any updates from Bach Financial Advisors on our bond capacity and bring it at every meeting. I don't have an update. He did not feel there was a swing in any market condition between these 2 meetings that would warrant a change to this. But I want to present the information again because this is what drives our bond package. This is how much money we can spend. Without a tax rate increase, our bond capacity is still the 50.63 million. So we can get 50.63 million without increasing the tax rate. If the committee decides to increase the tax rate, for every penny, you would add 4.28 million. And this graph just tells you what 1 penny, 2 penny, 3 penny. Just for reference, you don't have to say round pennies. You can do half pennies, quarter pennies, right? But this is just a good reference. But and that's going to be an integral part of our next meeting because step 1 is determining on the call you have to put if it's a tax rate increase or not. So step 1 of next meeting is going to be this committee will determine, are they asking for no tax rate increase or are they asking for a tax rate increase so that we can get our total dollar amount to then work towards with our list of facility needs. So, and this also is the breakdown of what it means on the average home value. So no increase is no tax impact on the average home value. And then on up from there, every penny adds $17.55 per year on the average home value, right? So if you own a home that's double the average home value, it's double the 17 cents impact and on up from there. So those are our 2 bond capacity that we'll keep looking at. Bach will give us a final kind of swing ahead of the call for next meeting to decide whether we're going for a tax rate increase or not. to get that total package dollar amount to then work towards next meeting.
I have a question on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Being that we live in an older community, I've graduated from here and I've been around here for a long time. Most people I know are capped because of age.
Right.
So how does that affect
So
the
if
younger people that are on the hook?
they're on the hook, that is what this $17.55.
So that's accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. It's looking. So if you're over 65 and you've applied for an over 65 homestead exemption, your taxes are frozen, meaning we as a school district can raise our tax rate, or the appraisal district can raise your value, and it doesn't matter. You're always going to pay this amount of taxes. So a bond increase doesn't affect them the same way. They're going to be down here in this zero category regardless of what side is.
And that's what age and older?
65.
Yes.
And you have to apply. You don't automatically get it. But yes, so, and the average home value here is just over 175,000. So that's what I was saying. If your home is valued more or less than that, you're going to have to multiply this 1755. Right. But that is an average homeowner in Calallen ISD with a homestead exemption.
So it's a penny for every $100 worth of value.
Yep.
That's another way to think about it.
Yep.
So whatever
So
the value of your house is, if we add a penny for every $100 of value, it's going to add a penny to your tax rate.
1755.
So yes, at $175,000 home value, because they might not be able to see in the back, that comes out to $17.55 because it's a penny on every $100 value.
For every penny added. Yep. Any other questions on bond capacity or this? We only have these two slides, not the full presentation like last time to look through. So any questions before we jump into potential projects? All right. I'm going to turn it back over to Emily.
So you picked up on the way in a PowerPoint of tonight's presentation, as well as a potential bond list. As we go through today, we're going to ask you to look at it and do some work with it, and if we forgot something, to add something. So just know that that's on the table. But what we did is we first looked at postponed projects from the previous bonds. So we have passed bonds previously that there have been items on that we didn't get to finish. For example, the press box. And so our goal is to review those projects, and they're all included on the list that you received today, and then make determinations about, are we going to move forward on those. We also did campus and department walkthroughs with principals and department heads. I think I've logged probably 1 million miles in these shoes, because we have walked every inch of every building, and we really talked to those people who live there the most. So we talked to the principals, we talked to the department heads, principals surveyed a lot of their teachers. So we really wanted to gather input from the people with the boots on the ground. We looked at outstanding deferred maintenance requests. So we have a maintenance request system, and there's some big ticket items that need to be replaced, like roofs. Parking lots, those things just become big ticket items that usually roll onto a bond, or we do them as we can with funds annually. So it just takes a long time to do them all. So a lot of those are on our deferred maintenance requests. And then finally, we looked at community staff student recommendations. When we go to HEB, people tell us things that they would like to have in the district as well. Our parent booster clubs share information with us. So we've been logging those as we've been going as well. So I want to start with Calallen High School. Now, when we talked last time, we talked about how bonds are proposed. So I'm not going to include all of the athletic stuff in Calallen High School. This is Calallen High School proper, the building. Kelsey's going to go over some of the outline. But basically, we have an older high school. Several of you probably went to high school here, and it looked the same. And that's not a bad thing, because we have a lot of tradition and pride in what we do. But when we looked at Calallen High School, we wanted to talk about what would a general interior remodel look like that wouldn't break the bank, but would give us a refresh and make it look better. And so those are things like painting, the classroom renovations, new ceilings in the corridors, maybe lift them a little bit if we can. They're very low. Interior and exterior lighting replacement, restroom renovations. The teacher that lives there is not. So those are, when we talk about general interior remodels, that's what we're talking about. Some of you may have been in this room before. We've done a basic remodel on this room. New flooring, new lighting, new paint, not a complete overhaul that would be like if you gutted your house, but it gives it a refresh. So that's kind of what we would be looking at the general high school remodel. The cafeteria upgrades, if you've been in our cafeteria, there's kind of two sections. So we would want to make it look like one place. So that would be ceilings and new lights on the old half. When we look at the front entry renovation, we have a lovely, I don't even know what decade courtyard this is from. If anybody's been in high school, we've been looking at old plans. That was actually a library where the offices are. It was a reading nook. And so it's a safety hazard as well because people can get back there. So we really want to look at redoing the front entry, a courtyard demo, office remodel, a new front entry that's inviting and welcoming, and then new offices possibly. We'll talk about that space when we get to the auditorium in a little while. Additionally, we need those exterior lights. A lot of our furniture, some of you might have sat in when you went to high school there. So we need some furniture at the high school and then plumbing upgrades. Underneath the high school is still cast iron pipes that we're having issues with. And additionally, I'm married to a plumbing wholesaler, so I understand this system, but there's only one shutoff on the high school. So if anything happens at the high school, we have to shut down the water to the entire high school. So we can't shut down wings. So we just need to come into the new millennium with what plumbing should look like at the high school. Additionally, we need covered walkways to our ag, CTE, and dual credit area. Larissa Duke is probably very excited about seeing that one, and we'll push for it. And because when our students leave the building to go to any of their out classes, if it's raining, we have to hold them. So we lose instructional minutes because it's too difficult to get the kids in and out of the building. So that would allow us to not miss instructional time. And then where the star is, this is what we lovingly refer to as Jonason's building. It's our old shop area to renovate that for new programs so that we can increase our CTE offerings as well. When we look at Calallen Middle School, many of you weren't here last time, so I want to kind of hit this. The Calallen Middle School will be the first school that hits capacity with our expected growth. We're expected to grow 1,000 students between now and 2030 with the houses that are slated to be built. We saw a little slowdown in that due to COVID, but we still expect a large majority of those students to enter in. So what we're looking at is a new wing addition where the old 6th grade wing is. Those classrooms are still there, but we can't make them ADA compliant because they all have steps going up into them. So we're way out of ADA compliance in that building. And it would take us basically leveling to rebuild. So we would be looking at a new wing addition of about 10 classrooms with restrooms in that addition as well. So adding some restrooms to that side of the building and adding 10 classrooms. Additionally, if those of you that have middle school kids, especially athletes, the auxiliary gym is a problem because it is not competition eligible for basketball. So we have to play half of our basketball games in the old gym over by the corner by transportation on Redbird. And so it causes an issue because people who come to watch games have to walk in the dark to an unair conditioned, unheated, basically gym. So we cannot play any basketball games in that gym at all. So we're proposing we add a competition-sized gym to Calallen Middle School as well. We do not want to take out the old one because of where it's located. It wouldn't benefit us, and it would leave us additional activity type space as well. Some of the stuff at the high school, not all of it, because sections of the middle school are newer than others, but the foyer. Our foyer is very outdated with the brick, and I love the Houston Astros, but I don't know why we have Houston Astro colors in the top of our middle school. So we would like to upgrade that a little bit and make it a little more modern. Additionally, remodel the older restrooms at the middle school. So in the older sections of the middle school, their restrooms are very outdated. The newer sections, the restrooms are fine. So we've pulled which ones would need to be repaired. Access controls, you're gonna see that on several of the campuses when I talk about it. That's the badge system. So currently at the high school and west, staff badge into the buildings. And so it's a safety feature that we want on all of our buildings. So you're gonna see that everywhere, is we would really like to upgrade all of our systems to badge access. Fire alarm and intercom upgrades. If we do access controls, we have to bring fire alarm and intercom up to code. And so right now we're grandfathered at several of our older buildings, but if we touch the systems, we have to upgrade all of the systems. And then fencing and exterior lighting. Sections of the middle school and most of our campuses have dark areas. So you're gonna see lighting. It's a safety thing we really want to address at our campuses. And then fencing. They're coming up with new codes for fencing, but along Access Road 37, we don't currently have fencing at the middle school, and we need it. So that's a big issue for us. Furniture. And then if you've been in the middle school library anytime soon, it is probably the smallest library in the district. It's very hard to use the way it's built. We are upgrading our libraries across the district. We've redone McGee. We've redone Calallen High School. West has a brand new library. We have a grant to do East and Wood River. So we're doing those through a grant. So middle school would be the next that we really need to upgrade. McGee Intermediate. We've done quite a bit at work of McGee already, but access controls there, they're not currently access controls. They have a lot of fencing needs. They are a campus that we want to enclose, especially due to the close 37 and the shopping center. So we need to upgrade all of the fencing. So essentially, this building would have fencing that connects to where all exterior doors are in the fence, and then this area right here is not fenced. So we would like to close in all the way to the back. So it would be one large closed-in area for safety. Additionally, it is the only classroom without a playground awning. So when it's really hot, it's really hot. So we'd like to have a shaded area on the playground. The playground resurface, you're gonna see that at our intermediates and our elementaries. So currently, our playgrounds, when your children come home, they have rocks in their shoes because of the playground. It's also an ADA issue. So we have more students that have accessibility issues. So with wheelchairs, they can't access the playgrounds. And they're becoming a hazard in terms of where we put rubber, it's floating away, it's messing up the playgrounds. So we want to go to basically a turf type substance on all of our playgrounds so that they're better and easier to maintain. Additionally, the fire lane upgrade. If you've been to the back of McGee, there is this lovely Caliche Road that runs between the school and the playground. It's an eyesore. That is our required fire lane. We would like to pave that so it'll look a little nicer and be better to use, because when it rains, it does puddle and flood quite a bit, and that's how our kids get to the playgrounds. And then finally, the track replacement. We've replaced several. We have concrete tracks now at our elementaries. McGee is the last one because West has a brand new one of the intermediates that needs a new track. West Intermediate, I know what you're saying. It's brand new, Emily. What could you possibly need? It doesn't have a pavilion. So when they built the campus, that was one of the things that was removed due to cost pricing. So we would like to drop a pavilion. This is the back of the building. So here's County Road 69, the front of the school. There's a perfect little place right here to drop a pavilion that would be equivalent to what we have at East and Wood River. And it's great because this is a covered walkway, so they could get in and out to the pavilion. We have a wonderful activity room because the way West was built, the cafeteria and the activity room back up together with an accordion door. So we can open it up, and we use that activity room a lot, but sometimes we can't go on the playground, and on certain days we have double the number of classes in PE, so we can do PLCs. This would alleviate if there's rain and weather. They could still go out and do activities. And we would use it for latchkey after school purposes, as well as our school purposes and activities during the day. East Elementary. So I could almost say ditto to both. There's just a few little things. But East and Wood River are the exact same school, if you really look at them. They just need a big refresh, really. General exterior and interior models, going back to that paint everywhere, flooring in the corridors, restroom renovations, foyer renovations. We want to make the entryways look like West with the tile on the wall that looks really pretty. Interior and exterior lighting replacements all across the board. So that's what we're looking at. If you look at these hallways, they're very crowded. Our lighting is not LED. So our hallways are kind of dark. We could easily replace with LED lighting to give us an upgrade. Our bathrooms are the originals from when we built. We replaced some of the stalls with a better product, not plywood anymore, but the small tile, I'm gonna be upfront and honest with you as a mom, is terrible, especially in little boys' bathroom because it's little bitty tiles with a whole lot of grout. Use your imagination. We want access controls at our elementary campuses. East Elementary is the only campus that doesn't have a bus lane. So it becomes a traffic nightmare. Those of you that have done drop-off, we have to wait to bring cars in till we finish the bus lane. So we would like to add a bus lane to the side of the campus. Cafeteria improvements. It is the only place on campus big enough for us to hold PTA meetings, to do big meetings with parents, to do activity nights. We would like to refresh our cafeterias with a new stage floor, new risers, new audiovisual, and new lights. We are doing more and more music productions. That's been a big focus of our fine arts department, and we need a place to showcase our kiddos. So we would really like to upgrade the cafeteria to be a place where we can welcome more people in. PTA meetings, those kinds of things. Fencing and exterior lighting, upgrading some of the fencing where we think we have some concern issues, and if we add bus lanes, we'll have to add those as well. We also have a couple sections across the district that are too low. Furniture, and then the playground resurfacing for ADA. Wood River Elementary, the same type of interior and exterior remodel. Access control is the same, cafeteria improvements the same, fencing and exterior, furniture, playground resurface. The only thing there is they need a track replacement as well, like McGee. East got a new one already, and so those two campuses, the other two campuses need one. So pretty much the same thing as Wood River.
We didn't think Carlisle Middle School needed a new track.
You're gonna see that goes into athletics. Yes, ma'am. They do need a new track, very badly.
So I'm going to jump in, give Emily a break here and pick up. So that was all of our instructional facilities. So this is going to go through athletics, performing arts, maintenance, operations, those kind of areas. So keep in mind, we talked at the first meeting that anything that is athletics related will be on its own proposition, summed together. If we move forward with anything on performing arts, we have to reach out to bond counsel. It's likely it will be on a standalone third proposition. It might be able to be included with all of our instructional facilities. So we have to get them to review our scope of work and tell us based on the law where it fits. So Emily kind of completed what would become Proposition A. And I'm going to focus on the other propositions. So jumping into athletics, there's going to be quite a bit of slides on these. So hang with me. If you think something's missing, it might be coming up in a future slide. So baseball and softball, the baseball fence replacement, if you've been to administration building anytime soon, you've seen the back of that fence. It's time, y'all. It needs a new fence. It's
a good win.
It is barely holding on. So replacing that fence for safety and security reasons. And then baseball field turf and softball field turf. And these are just a quick mock-up that a company gave us of what that would look like, scope. We don't even know if it'll make it on the proposition. That's what y'all are here for. So that's just a quick picture we had received to show y'all what that would look like tonight. The big one, field house. Well, one of the two big ones. The field house. This project was on the 2018 bond and was something that was not completed. And so looking at the field house, expansion and renovation of the existing field house. So I'm going to start with the existing field house. We've had the firm that we hired to help give us estimates for next meeting is an architect. They're RMA architects. And we're a little bit lucky in that building in that a lot of the walls on the inside aren't load bearing. Like they can basically take that whole field house and just blow out all the walls and have just the exterior shell of the building and start over. So we're lucky in that sense. There will be some that have to stay and some non-negotiables on, we can't move that plumbing or we can't do this. But for the most part, we would be able to gut that entire building and renovate it. We're talking flooring, new walls, new paint, new locker rooms, new plumbing, new bathrooms, AC,
rooms.
the whole 2 film rooms, bigger offices, all of the concerns we've heard from that department. So then, this is the existing field house here this is the multi-purpose. So we have this kind of patch of grass right back there. So we have room to expand. And the expansion would be a weight room and training facilities. So the reason of that pairing is currently to get to our training facilities, if you're a female athlete, you are in the middle of the field house. And your only restroom is in Jenny's office up in the front offices. So it's a safety concern for us. And they then would be paired with the new weight room. So they would have access to machines to work on rehab. Their facilities, this is a quick, small picture of it, are very outdated. They could do so much more if they had a modern facility.
The trainers.
The trainers.
We have two
The trainers.
We have two athletic trainers. We have a male and a female athletic trainer, and they see kids from across all sports. And if we need them to see other kids that are in other activities, they see them as well. So if we have a band student that needs to be seen, our trainers see them as well. So having a more updated facility, we can't do, you all have seen, we've watched all the movies, they can't do the ice baths appropriately right now in the facility that they have. I mean, it's time to update. And then I'm going to be real honest, in the weight rooms, we have to gut them. It's a very strong facility, so they recommended we keep it because of the cost. But we need to clean it out. I mean, as terrible as I say, as
for football, right? Or
no,
because currently the girls' weight room is
in the FEMA dome,
in the FEMA dome, so scheduling is going to be a problem.
right? And
So
this would allow for more flexibility when we have no one in there. We could use it more readily because it's not in the field house.
no, I get all
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
but when you schedule kids for athletics, it's going to have to be where it works.
Right. And so most of our football is in 4th and 7th period. That's why we've added a first period freshman, because it helps alleviate some of the weight room and
Girls
issues.
volleyball, girls
It's 7th
softball,
period.
7th period.
Right.
So
right.
again, it's going to be.
So it's going to be scheduling. But
And
at
it
least
has
it's
not been designed, right?
Right.
And so it's going to be a bigger facility. And so
It is
we
much
could
larger.
make the decision to do one giant weight room and one little smaller weight room, and then the
Or
training room,
mediums or, you know.
yeah, have some partitions, right? Because it's not been. I see, I hear your concern on that, and it's not been designed, and so it is a bigger facility.
And it's probably more like a Freedom Fitness. I mean, you have a lot of different areas with different kind of workouts going on.
we would move some of the weights from the old, which are freestanding, but we would add new weights.
Well, but currently, we've seen it where girls volleyball is trying to work out with boys baseball in the dome, and there's a conflict, and they say, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
So, again, if we're going to pitch this to the public, then
Right.
we better have a plan in place where scheduling works, because I've seen it.
So,
Yeah.
wait, and just to clarify, the conflict is because two people are trying to use the same machine, or because you can't have males and females in there at the same time?
Just
Two
the
people
space.
trying to utilize the same space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, two different teams trying to utilize the
Ms. Geyer?
same space.
Ms. Geyer?
Ms. Geyer?
Question about the addition that's going to be kind of in between the field house and the indoor-outdoor facility. Are you going to put a restroom in there, male and female restroom?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Our
That was
multi-purpose.
crucial.
That's coming too. You're going to see our multi-purpose building has no restrooms. I don't know who designed that, but you're going to see a whole big bathroom facility.
Yes.
But yes, that will have restrooms, and there'll be spaces for girls to change if they need to see the trainers as well. So they'll have a dedicated space for that.
So the architect's preliminary idea when he walked it, just trying to maximize dollars and get the most, is the expansion would actually kind of be a standalone with a covered to the multi-purpose and a covered to the field house, or it may actually be situated closer to the like off the side of the multi-purpose with a covered walkway to the field house. For that reason, there is no restrooms in the multi-purpose. I thought I saw another hand. So that is the field house expansion renovation on that. Yes, I covered that. So the stadium. We all have seen probably the entrances to the softball and the baseball field, the beautiful columns with the big medals. So that's what we're proposing here, is to make the stadium mimic those entrances and match those entrances at those other athletic facilities. We also need new concession stands and restrooms. I forget the number, but it's something
Eight female on the
we're
home
like
side.
50 something.
They want us to have 41.
Stalls short
41.
for current code.
41 is current code on the home side.
Yes, yes, we are very short on restrooms.
You would think lines would be like
You
on
would
the other
think,
side. I've
but
never
it's
heard
not.
of
Because we don't go in those restrooms.
Well, true.
No offense, but I'm going before I leave the house.
So this is the current.
Have you been in there? Yeah, I know.
This
Sorry,
is the
I
current
digress.
Stadium right here. This side is going to be 624. This side is going to go back towards the athletic facility, so home side. So the architect, obviously, he's the one doing the estimations. We don't know who would do the final architect if this bond passes, but his idea was to drop new concession stand and restrooms here on the home side and here on the visitor side. These little marks right here are going to be where the new ticket booth kind of entrances, like I was talking about, would look like. Also in there is a new press box, very old, very small. The press box that is being estimated for price does include an elevator and a new scoreboard as well. So that would wrap up. And the fencing upgrades, it includes, I don't want to get my number wrong here, an 8-foot decorative black fence all the way around the stadium. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yes.
That one's for
So
you,
clean up the
Steven, so you
look of
better
the
push it on
stadium.
your list.
The tennis courts. So we put these two older pictures on here. I want you to follow the fence line. Do you see all the ripples? And do you see that I'm going uphill now? It's a potato chip, y'all. It is a potato chip. And in the forefront of this here, you can see there is a lot of cracking. You can also see where all of the water pools. Same on this side.
When we have a tournament and it rains, there's one court that we cannot use
because
at all.
it's full of water.
It's full of water.
It's full of water. So we're proposing a new tennis court with restrooms. This is where the location would be. That's the road out to the Ag Barn, the multi-purpose pool, FEMA Dome. Multi-purpose doesn't have a bathroom. The pool has one male
stall.
and one female
So when we have swim meets,
of
it's a
90
mess.
swimmers.
90 swimmers is what we had last year with one restroom.
So the idea,
No, we have that sign up.
So the idea is that the tennis courts could go push this way, and the restroom
We would
concessions
drop in
could
a
go
restroom
here,
concession
you know,
facility.
and sidewalk out to it, so that the pool and the multi-purpose could have access to those restrooms as
So
well.
when we use the multi-purpose right now, the kids have to go into other facilities. So they're going on their own, they're unsupervised. This way, through the doors of the multi-purpose, they could watch them go directly to the restroom. They can leave the tennis court, go to the restroom, FEMA Dome if we had a big backlog. We got plenty in there, but. And the pool could use it as a dressing room during meets.
They would just demolish them because they're the potato chip, or, you
we
know,
would,
to
we would
maintain
say that we're running out of
land.
space.
It becomes
so
land.
It becomes land. Available space.
Yes. And on the concession stands, people like the Pool Booster Club or powerlifting could use those concession stands when they have meets or other things as well, because of where the location would be on those. So performing arts facility. Our auditorium in our high school is tiny. It has no production area. You can see in this picture, this is the edge of the stage. There's no behind the curtain area for anything. There's no storage. RMA looked at it and tried and spent many weeks and came back and visited again and got the original prints. It cannot be expanded. All we could do to the current auditorium is paint it, put some new carpet in it, do new lighting, but it would fix none of the problems that our band currently does not fit on that stage.
So
And
they can't have band
That's the one
concerts
that's right inside
in at the high school.
straight in the front door. Yes, yes.
So the band cannot perform there.
Right. They don't fit on that stage. It is very, very small. The architect reviewed it and said that it was a correct size for the original high school.
Which we were a 2A, if you
Yes.
recall.
Yes. So to get a bigger performing arts facility that would bring us into the modern era of performing arts and give us a stage large enough for our amazing band to perform on, we would need to build a new performing arts
And
facility.
I will say we worked with Fine Arts, we worked with campus administration, we explored every opportunity, busting out into the atrium, but
Yes.
structurally it would not work.
What would you do with that old space then?
So that's where I was talking about renovation at the high school. Currently at the high school, the teacher's lounge is a third of the size of this room.
It was original.
Outside of the science wing is 2 stalls. We have
For
over
the
how
whole-
many staff members at the high school? Majority of women. We have 2 stalls. The nurse's office is a renovated part of the library. The counseling office is tiny. We can't house all of our counselors in there at the same time.
ARDS.
Our ARD meetings, our special ed offices for students who need to have admission review and dismissal meetings, you have to go into the home ec room to get into the special ed office, and it is tiny. We have no storage at the high school. That's why we have pods out back. We don't have meeting space. Our principals do not have a single conference room available to them at all. We have one in the counseling office. So we would take that area and expand it and make additional classrooms and office space.
I guess the question I have is, I'm all about upgrading all these facilities, and we're talking about 2030. Does the school district have anything in place looking further than that for new schools? Are we throwing good money
So
after bad?
to
Or
build-
what is the plan? Because you see other districts around us, and we're so far behind the curve.
Right. And facilities
And nothing
hasn't
to
been
do
a
with you, I know
priority.
you're
Yes,
just-
but I'm
just-
working on it.
I'm just simply saying that my concern is that we're gonna spend $50 million
So
on paint and
On paint.
upgrades.
a brand new high school runs in the market of $130 to $140 million.
But what are
lem-
our plans going forward?
So,
I get all that.
yeah.
I get it costs money, but
So-
are we planning on building new schools? Because you
The-
put
the-
lipstick on a pig and it's
Well,
still a pig.
the reality is I don't know if we'd ever be able to afford a new high school. It would require us, you saw that, for each penny, how much money we got. It would mean almost doubling our INS tax rate
But
to
we
be
have
able to
think
have
about that.
130.
We have to think about that school cannot.
And that's why,
With growth, there's
Right.
no way we're going to be able to house those kids.
well, the high school
School-
proper, with the addition of the science wing, does have the space, and in the auditorium, we would add additional classrooms. So we would have growth capacity. Right now, we left the rooms we moved out of empty to do some renovations. And to a lot of districts are having to renovate older schools because the cost of a new school for a district that doesn't have industry, and the state's not currently providing any funding for facility building. 130 million is going to be, I don't want to say impossible because I hate to say anything is ever impossible, but it would be very difficult.
No, I get it. It's
So
just
what we're
it's
trying to do is fix certain things right now. Kelsey is a wizard on building bond capacity and paying off things as we can, being conservative with our funding. We're going to have to renovate sections at a time because we cannot afford to build a new high school right now.
And this is very common. The architect that's doing the estimating, this is what the
specializes
majority of school districts are doing,
Well,
and
they're
they're
talking about high school. I mean,
All of it, yeah.
The middle schools.
The same.
right.
I mean, they're
Right.
Again,
That's exactly like when I'm looking at it, that's what I'm thinking, like how much money, I'm waiting to see how much money is it gonna be for a new wing addition at the middle school when we know that's what's gonna fill up next? So is that something viable now, because it's like filling in a pothole today?
I feel it's a bad
We're
day.
gonna build a new middle school with the next bond, you know?
I feel it's a
So
Band-Aid,
I'm
but
waiting
that's
to
just my
see the
opinion.
money, but I can understand expanding the high school, because we're not gonna give up that space, I don't think, for the high school. And I've always said, and Wendy always she wants the front of the high school to look nice. And I keep saying, let's build out, we can build out. So when I look at the proposed location for the performing arts, well, I'm thinking, well, where can we put it where we build out towards 624? And then you remodel the front of the school to make it at least look more modern when you see it. I mean, you know.
The front
And
has so
that's
many
what's on
easements.
this.
which
Yeah,
are
that's
hard.
what's on this proposal is when we're talking about renovating the front, it's including so you walk in the security vestibule at the high school and the counseling offices are on the left, and the principal's offices are on the right. So it's renovating all of that and taking that administration space and expanding it through to where the
Part of
current
the auditorium.
auditorium is, and that can, on the back side is capacity for additional classrooms as well to get.
I'm talking about like taking away the parking lot and building out towards 624. Because you probably have at least 10,000 square foot if you build out. And you remake the whole front of the school. It doesn't look the same as it did in the 1970s.
Right, and that's what the architect is.
Just not coming that far out
Not
right
coming
now.
out, but revamping, redoing that entrance so that it doesn't look like
the 1970s.
Yes, absolutely. So the
And we do hear you, Mona. I would love
Yes.
new buildings. If I could wave my magic wand,
the
I know we're talking about the high school.
Every-
There's other schools that
there
are,
is. And that's why the middle school, we want to redo the entrance of the middle school. It's not just paint. That whole entrance would be revamped. Going into the cafeteria where we have 4 different types of tile. That would all be redone because that's where it looks the oldest, is where we walk people in.
And the
So
two
that was
different architects that have been involved with this district, the one from the previous bond as well as this one estimating, have told us all of these facilities have really good bones, right? It doesn't at this point behoove us to build new. We need to take care of what we have and renovate it, and it has life left. And our financial advisors, I mean, they have said, like, you're very far away on your tax base from being able to, without a large tax rate increase, build
And
a new
middle or
high
high school.
school and a new middle school because of the cost of construction. So a new performing arts facility, 624 is here, Wildcat is here. This is where the science wing is, right here. It ends the existing band hall. So a performing arts facility could be dropped in right here, attached to the current high school. It would integrate in with the band hall. It would include capacity for 650 people. I think we currently seat 100 and
No.
No.
More than that. 300.
Yeah, like 372. So would double that capacity. It would include classrooms, tech theaters, all the production areas that we are missing in our current facility, and restrooms.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
a parking lot.
Yes.
Is that a definite location or that's just a proposal?
The proposed was to keep it close to the band hall. We had also looked at where the tennis courts are as an option, but that one kept our fine arts in a common facility.
So operations, this is our current, I don't know if you've ever driven by when all the buses are in the lot at the transportation facility off Redbird. I don't know how those people drive those buses in that lot. I can hardly get my SUV navigated around the corner to go back to the office. It is very small, and unfortunately, it is in a location where we don't have a lot of room to improve the situation at all. So this is a current picture. This is not even full. It's fullest during the night, right? You know, when we're not here, we can't get a drone in the air to see it. So, but you can see the middle school track is right here. This is the new maintenance storage building, and that's Redbird. We're landlocked.
And we're parking buses in the grass.
Yes.
You don't own the lot before it? To the left?
Where the gym is. Yeah, they follow
Yeah.
on that field. That's where they practice.
Yes.
Semantics.
Yes. So it is
The lot.
a landlocked facility. And if we grow, so this is current. What if we grow 1,000 students? How many more buses do we need? And if we're already parking back here in the grass and barely fitting in here, it's a real concern and a future facility need. So we have the Alamo land. We demoed the Alamo. It is right off the frontage road, one easy access. We could drop down a new transportation facility out there in the Alamo land that would include parking, an office, and a shop as well out there. What that would allow us, oh, I thought that was a hand raise.
The Alamo was
The
an
Alamo
old
land, yeah.
building off.
Back in the neighborhood.
neighborhood
So
across-
it's this way.
It's the old,
like-
the original, like high school.
Yeah.
Avenue C.
Yes. Yeah, it's right out of picture, like right up here.
It used to have like an Alamo-looking structure.
Yeah, this is Avenue C. Yes, the front door. So
Yes,
yes.
because it used to be a school. So
Possible middle school,
yeah,
and the bus barn would go over there.
yeah.
We're
And
getting
we have direct access to the access road, so we would just repave our own personal little road.
Right there.
Go straight to the access road, not through the neighborhood?
Only for certain
Right
routes
here.
would have to go through the neighborhood, like the ones right there. Other than that, they would come
Yep.
the access road.
Yep. Right there. It goes right out to
We
the
own that
access
land
road.
that kind of goes to the highway. I know that this is not a pretty project list item. Our mechanics currently, our buses don't even fit in the garages. So they're working in the lot on the asphalt to fix our buses right now because this facility is so old. The portable building, the lounge, doesn't even hold all of our bus drivers. So when we have to have meetings, Carol Barnhart in the back is our transportation director.
They come here.
We can't have full meetings with all of our staff very easily. It's not something that we would recognize as, well, we need to do it for students first. But this is for students because that's how we transport them. And that's how we keep our buses running. And they are huge capital outlays. We have to maintain our buses. We have to do a good job taking care of them, and we need the facilities to do it.
So that would start kind of a domino effect. So our current maintenance facility is kind of right here. There's a round building that's technology, and next to it, it backs up to the tennis courts at the middle school. It's a very old, it was part of the original high school. Our maintenance warehouse is actually the old stage area from the cafetorium. They cannot get a truck delivered in this district. To offload into here, they unload on Redbird and carry things up there. The current facility can only get a very small delivery van backed up to that maintenance warehouse there. So the idea is that they could move to the transportation. We would take this old barn here and revamp it into offices and storage facility, lounge, etc. They would have this whole yard to take deliveries in. They also lock up their maintenance trucks every night there, so it would be, and this is their maintenance storage building. So instead of having to go all the way around to their maintenance storage building or walk over there, they would now be one facility there at the old transportation. Then where the old maintenance facility is, when they demo the 6th grade wing, if all of this comes to fruition, they could demo that building. Currently, Technology's warehouse is right across the hall here.
In 2 classrooms. So when they need a delivery, we have to take out the center mullion of the door to get a pallet in, or we break it down by hand.
Yes. And so we could drop a technology warehouse there. They would have a little delivery loading dock, and all of these operations facilities, we have asked the architect to estimate them as metal buildings. They are not, we're not putting up brick buildings to
Taj
turn
Mahals.
into, we're being very conservative on the numbers. We want them to be functional. We want them to last a very long time, but they are operations facilities. They do not need to look like schools. They can be metal buildings just like this maintenance warehouse that's out there. Just very basic operations facilities.
And this is not part of the athletic proposal, right?
No,
This
all
is
of this
this
would
be
go
a separate-
This would go
Proposition
with,
A.
with the schools.
With the schools. Yes, yes. Operations would fit with the schools on the propositions. So lastly is the not fun one of deferred maintenance that Emily spoke about repairs to rooftop units, AC units, parking lots, and sidewalks. District-wide, we have done a good job of passing maintenance tax notes in the last couple of years to pay for some of those things out of general operating. But we would like to propose not to redo everything in this school district, but to eat another chunk of those out of the bond. So,
Go ahead.
looking ahead. Well, no, now
we
we're
need to do
on
work.
Yeah, now we're on work. So we are going to pass out and ask y'all to take some time this evening to work at your table. And I'm going to take one and I can hold it up. So we have poster boards for you. And we would like for y'all to discuss at your table. And then we're going to ask you to pick one representative from your table to come up and speak to the group at the end. We would like for you to say, out of all these projects, and remember, this is a list that we heard from campus, community, everyone, right? It's not just administration coming up with a
stuck
crazy
together.
list. So we would like for y'all to start thinking about what are your top 10 priorities out of that list, and then what are 5 projects that you feel are least important? And then did we miss anything? Do you have anything you would like to add to this list?
Hi, Miss Rachel.
How are you?
Good.
I'm sorry?
Depending on the estimates, that
Right.
may change my priorities.
So we
Which is
don't
okay.
have them all yet. That will be at the next meeting.
Yes.
We want them to give us good estimates with the costs of architect, engineering, and inflation. And so it just takes a while. I will tell you that at where they're estimating already, and we have to wait on certain like athletic facility people to give us quotes, and that's probably the slowest one we have right now. We're gonna have to cut this list in half.
Yes.
We're gonna have to cut this list in half. You can. Well,
Well, and this list isn't,
right. This is just first
To
off
start
wanting everybody to
conversations.
understand what the projects are and to just start the conversation with what is really important. So we know we don't have all the answers today. And we didn't have the dollar amounts for you, but today was really talking about philosophically kind of where are we? What are our priorities as a district? And so we're going to ask you to kind of go around. You're supposed to pick a spokesperson. And we just want a general gist of kind of where you were on what are the top things important to you? What are things that you think could slide? And if you had anything that we need to add. So we're going to start right here.
and go this way. And y'all can just stand up at your tables. You don't have to traverse all the way to the front.
So this was a really difficult conversation because we are all educators here and we want all of this to happen. So it was very difficult to prioritize. So anything we put at the bottom doesn't mean it's not important to us. It just was, again, that challenge for us. So we put deferred maintenance, we thought, was a priority because we needed to take care of, for safety issues, what had not been taken care of in the past. We did think general interior remodeling, especially for the high school and middle school, was very important because they haven't had much attention there. We also felt like the new Performing Arts Center was a priority. We put fencing and exterior lighting, and that was just for all campuses. It's a safety issue for our students and our families. We put middle school new wing. We know that's our campus that's going to reach capacity first. High school plumbing, it's just a real safety and smell issue for the high school. Every day. We thought access control for all campuses, another safety issue, so we felt all campuses needed to have the safety access. Covered walkways for the CTE, so our students can get access to that. We wanted the tennis courts with the restrooms so that all of the students who worked out there could have access to that. And our last thing then was really the bus garage that we thought was important. So those things, again, I don't want to say they weren't important, but we felt like they were less of a priority. Elementary track renovations, turf for the baseball and softball, playground resurfacing, a new tech warehouse, and cafeteria upgrades. Those were the things we thought were less important. And then the one addition was a new gym for the high school. And that was something that hadn't been on the table, but is a challenge for practicing for various groups.
Thank you for sharing.
New performing arts facility, front interior reno and plumbing upgrades for the high school. Operations, all 3 items. Deferred maintenance, new wing and gym at middle school. Field house, tennis courts, concession stand and restroom renovations, and new press box and baseball fence. The things we felt were not that or least important were CTE building improvements or addition, cafeteria upgrades, general interior remodels, furniture, and the baseball and softball turf.
Back here, we have educators, but we also have parents. So we looked at it because we have kids who are in intermediate and elementary that are eventually going to grow on. So we looked at it as a lot of expansion for later on for our kids. So that's why a lot of ours is going to be what we called growing pains. Was the new CMS wing, because we have kids going into middle school. I don't want my kid like up next to little Joey while he's trying to learn too. The field house at CHS, the transportation, our kids getting to and from school is the most important. If they can't get to us and they can't get home. The West Pavilion, so we can expand that way too. The Performing Arts Center, and the new gym at CMS, safety, the access controls for all campuses, and that includes the fire alarm and the fencing and exterior lighting, and the baseball fence we saw as a safety issue, and the new bus lane at East to make it safe for our kids that way too for drop off and pickup. Then we said shiny, so this is what we would like, but it's not necessarily important. The playground resurfacing, our kids come home and like
If you have a kid at
elementary, they come home and like covered in black.
It makes the walls dirty too, let me tell you.
Yes. The field turf at the baseball and softball fields, then the football field, the press box, and the scoreboard. So for lease projects, we said furniture, cafeteria improvements, and we said that only because if we get the Performing Arts Center, then the cafeteria improvements would kind of be like double dipping. You don't really need to improve risers and stuff if we can get all the campuses have access to Performing Arts Center. General and exterior remodeling, track replacements, and then of course anything under the shiny category.
All right, so it was just too difficult to choose, so we chose areas that encompass multiple campuses. So most important for us was fencing and exterior lighting. You'll be able to see proof of that when you walk out of here tonight. Playground resurfaces for all campuses that have playground equipment. Access controls are most important. Coming from West last year, now to McGee, I sure do miss just badging in. I can't do that anymore. General remodel, which includes interior and exterior areas. Stadium upgrades we felt were very important, as well as a Performing Arts Center. Projects that we felt were not that important at this time, but we love you, Carol. Operations, we're a little torn by that, but it's still important. Furniture, and at this time we couldn't think of anything that needed to be considered. Thank you.
So some of the projects that we mentioned that we would like to have prioritized, obviously the deferred maintenance, I think as everybody's kind of agreed on that, you got to take care of what you've already got. Fencing we thought was important, not necessarily the lighting, just not sure what that would mean. A lot of it is worried about safety for students and things of that nature. Obviously they're not around at 2 o'clock in the morning, so it would be a matter of what kind of lighting we talk about, the expense involved, things like that. Obviously access control is very important. I know that there wasn't anything necessarily for the high school because they already have that, but other security, we think that's obviously one of the most important things. Plumbing upgrades, again, that goes to taking care of what we've got. General interior remodeling, I went to school here, I think we all know it could use a little bit of a facelift. I think there's a lot of small things like this room is a good example that could make a big difference just with minor improvements. Obviously bus lanes, safety, convenience. I know that the drop-off pickup lines are a nightmare for parents. Anything to make that a little bit better is always a good thing. And then the West Pavilion, I have a student there right now. There's not really a whole lot for the kids to do outside. I think that would give additional area for those kids to have some room for activities and things of that nature. We broke it down since it's probably going to be two different propositions. We had the education side of it, then we have the athletics side of it. In regards to athletics, field house, we think that's very important. Obviously, kids are, we're getting more kids. The way it's proposed and designed, we think it would be useful for, a bunch of different teams. It wouldn't just be a football type thing. Athletics also, turf and fence for both softball and baseball. New concession stands, think that's a great idea. I think that's probably something that's low cost that everybody could benefit from greatly. We like the idea of the restrooms at the practice facility as well. I had no idea that there was no bathrooms out there. I think that's probably something that everybody could benefit from. That's a pretty simple fix. Some of the things that we thought were the least important at this time aren't necessarily things that we don't think are important. We think that they're things we might need a little bit more information on, or things that we might make tweaks to the plans as they were outlaid to us here today. One of the things was the new transportation facility. We know that we have that existing area there. We know that there's a field. She explained to us that there are some easement issues with that open area that's over there by the middle school stadium. But just trying to maybe think about some ways to repurpose that area to be a little bit more functional without necessarily having to go and do a total overhaul, go to a brand new area and build from scratch. One of the things that we think is also with the new wing at the middle school, we all agree, I think we all know that this area is expanding very rapidly and that we're going to have a lot of issues moving forward. We just kind of feel that this might be a Band-Aid. We know that you can't use the old wing, so we're going to knock that down. We're going to add on a new wing. As we don't have costs that are attached to certain things today, we're just kind of hesitant to say that we think that that's something that's super important just because we don't necessarily know the vision for where things are going to go long term. Is that going to be something that we drop $20 million on and we use it for 5 years and then all of a sudden we're facing the same problem? So just a little bit more information needed on that to determine how important it is. When it comes to the front entry renovation at the high school, as it's proposed, we feel like it's only for aesthetic purposes only. We think that there's a way that we could combine some of the projects that are on this list, such as maybe having that performing arts facility moved into that empty space in between the front entrance as it is now in 624. Obviously, then you can make that exterior of that look very nice. It's front facing on 624. God knows how many people drive by there all the time. And so that would be something that we could make look really nice while also making it a functional use so that we kind of combine some of the items on this list to something a little bit more functional. Not sure that we feel that the new gym at the middle school is important at this time. I get it. I was a B team basketball kid, so I played outdoors all the time. I know if it's foggy in the mornings, you can't see. I know that there's a lot of issues there, but just something that logistically don't know if it makes sense, where are we going to put it, things like that. One other thing was the tennis courts, and lastly, not necessarily the importance of it, but the restrooms at the stadium. Don't know that we need to add 41 stalls. I think it's a good idea to address that, but maybe not to that extent. Some projects that were not considered that we feel need to be considered. We didn't really have anything. Most of our concerns are just trying to get a little bit more information. Obviously having a price tag attached to certain things will affect where we prioritize it. We were told that the performing arts facility is projected at about $15 million. Obviously, if we end up at that lower number, the 50-something million, that's a big chunk of the budget. And so things like that would have an effect on how we prioritize things.
Okay, I think like a lot of the people here, access controls, number one, we have to consider who we're trying to sell this to. And I think access controls, talking about the safety and security of our students, is a really easy sell. The thing happened at the high school earlier this year. It affected West. I think we saw, everything blow up. Parents want to be reassured about safety. So I think access controls makes it more sellable. Playground resurfacing, that's cheap. Everybody with an elementary school student knows that that's pretty necessary. The field house, I don't have a lot of firsthand knowledge about that, but it sounded like that was necessary and that was really going to benefit several of the athletic departments, not just football. The middle school wing, obviously we need that. The fencing lighting, again, kind of goes with access controls. Sounds like that's probably going to be some of the cheaper things to do, but I think it's going to make the bond more sellable. The high school plumbing, obviously, if the plumbing goes off anywhere, you have to turn it off, and I guess you would have to send everybody home for the day. You can't keep students in a building with no running water, I would imagine.
We're not going to have that conversation.
We don't mind that.
So, that, like you said, not a pretty item, but something that needs to be taken care of. And going along with that, bathrooms district-wide, apparently all of them need some updating, and so that definitely is a good place to spend some money. we thought the performing arts facility was a great idea because it's definitely, you were concerned about getting a twofer out of it, but that sounds like you would really get a lot of interior renovations out of moving that thing and then repurposing all that space for the classrooms and the administrative offices. The transportation facility, it sounds like they need it, and I feel like moving it now may save money when there's an eventual expansion that needs to be done. Then you have already not deferred, but preferred maybe some of the cost that will need to be done in the future. The tennis courts, although seems like you should be able to resurface those. They said you can't do that,
You've done it a few times, and after so many, you're out
Potato
of tries.
chips.
So, but it sounds like that really would alleviate a lot of other issues if you're able to tack on the new restroom facilities with that. It sounds like that would really open up a lot of usefulness for a lot of things out there. Things that made the bottom of the list: the middle school gym, the McGee fire lane. They said if it's raining, is there going to be a fire? The McGee playground cover, the West playground cover, and the middle school library. A small suggestion we had were baby changing stations at the field, and kind of wondering if maybe, not that we don't think McGee needs a playground cover, West needs a playground or pavilion, but the scoreboard, or some of these things we could look outside of a bond issue for. I mean, donations, booster clubs, I don't know, somewhere, find the money other places, maybe.
Thank you.
Okay, now none of these things are really in any sort of order, but we in our group, we did feel like safety was a really important thing. We actually had number one up there was safety. So like the access controls and the fencing and the lighting, we thought all this stuff was really important for safety. I mean, I know the band students, when we're out there, we come back at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. The parking lots are extremely dark, so some of those lighting things are really important. The new CMS wing, of course, because of the expansion of the district, we thought that was extremely important. The covered walkway over there at the high school. I mean, I've had to make that journey, leaving the thing, going out to the other buildings, and it's raining, and we said before we have to hold students back because of the weather thing. I think that's really important. The plumbing upgrades, if you've not been to the high school, or if you've not been in the auditorium, whenever we walk in the auditorium now, there's a real nice smell. So we had a real interesting time at the Christmas concert because of that. It was fantastic, right? So we do think the bus lane at East. I had students that my 2 little ones went to East, and that's a real problem over there at East, having to hold back the parents because where the bus thing is. We do feel like the tracks at the 2 campuses, on the multiple campuses, at least needed to be upgraded to where the other campuses were. The press box, we felt it was a real big one because that's not only used for the football thing, right? I know I'm the band guy here, but we host a lot of events there. And what we do there in the press box, if you've not been up to the press box, to say that's antiquated would be like the understatement of the year. And I really believe that also, probably if we look at other groups or other schools, we're probably the school that has a stadium that high that doesn't have an elevator, right? And for us and the judges and things like that, we have to do there. And we do feel like that's important especially for football events, for all the other events that happen out there. And then the performing arts facility, I think people have made a really good case for the performing arts facility. I know most of the groups feel that's important. That would not only be important to the high school campus, but also to the middle school campus. All the other groups would be performing around the different campuses, used for the community events and whatnot. I think that would be a great thing for Caroline ISD. We do feel like the tennis courts and the restrooms would be important, especially the restrooms out there. I've had 150 band students trying to rehearse out at we call it the Taj Mahal, the multi-purpose facility. The only thing that makes it not the Taj Mahal is that there's no bathrooms in it, right? So having the bathrooms out there would be really important. And I really kind of put this other one up there. I do feel like the high school should be like the shining jewel of the district. And for me, I think some guys made some good points about having the fine arts facility out there, but I do feel like the front entry renovation would be something worthwhile for the district that could really, You know, when so many people drive by on 624, that is something that we could definitely do some upgrades up there. Things that we didn't feel important, not that they're not important, but maybe they shouldn't go on a bond. We didn't feel like the furniture stuff should go on the bond, or maybe the general interior remodels. We do feel like those are important, but maybe that's not bond worthy, that we could find the funds for that somewhere else.
So thank y'all all for taking time to discuss at your table. Like Emily said, we felt it was good to just kind of set the tone of what we felt was important, you know, whether it was athletics, safety and security, you know, academic upgrades, right, before we got the price list, because we know that might change the perspective a little bit, or reprioritize or reorder your list. So looking ahead, we have our third bond committee in, I believe it's 2 weeks, on January 25th. That gap was intentional. So you have the list. Now it's time to think about it, talk to your friends, talk to your kids, talk to your teacher, talk to people you know, kind of get their input, right? See maybe what their priorities are, because we're gonna go shopping this next time at this next meeting on the 25th. So we gave that gap to you intentionally. You can take the list today and spend the next 2 weeks still thinking about it, thinking about the things that your table spoke about. We have January 31st as an asterisk. If we need a fourth bond committee meeting, if we can't come to a good list that we are all comfortable with and y'all are comfortable taking to the school board for the call, we have the 31st asterisk to come back and keep doing that work as well. February 13th is the board meeting that this committee, next meeting or the 31st, is going to have to decide who is going to, if y'all would like to call, who is going to represent this group to present to the board and ask the board to please move forward with the bond call. Our bond legal counsel will prep all of the legal documents and the motions and everything, but it is this committee's duty to go to the board, not administration. Yes, sir.
When will we have better numbers?
Before
25th.
the 25th, yeah.
And then
And if we get them all solid, because
Yes.
you know we're waiting on others, I have all your email addresses. That's how you got here. We can try to share those out ahead of time.
yes.
I think that's important.
Yes.
Before the next
And that's
meeting.
why we're saying we could have 2 meetings, you know, if it takes longer. So the minute we have them solid, where we feel comfortable sharing for you to be talking about and discussing, we'll let you have them. I promise.
So if this committee decides to recommend and the board calls, we have pre-scheduled 3 town hall meetings. We've reserved the facilities. They're at different places throughout the district, so the community can see different facilities. And we're going to do 1 a month leading up to the election. So a February, a March, and an April. There is way more into our communication plan than just these 3 meetings. I'll get to that in a minute. So rest assured, we will be doing a lot more than just 3 town halls. And then,
Here's
yes,
the election
that's what,
right here.
here's the election. The main things on here is early voting is April 24th to May 2nd. So you're really counting down to that April 24th. You know, that's when early voting kicks off. May 6th is the bond election. So it will be called for a May 6th bond election date. Keep in mind, it will be August if it passes. It will be August or later before we sell those bonds and get those funds. So that's important when we give you these numbers, because inflation has to be taken into account. We're standing here today, but we're not even going to get the funds to start these projects until after August if it passes. So inflation is very important because of that.
Is there any other elections being held on May 6th, or would that be a standalone?
Standalone.
Will be a low turnout.
It'll be a good positive turnout if we have an election.
Okay, so very preliminary. We've met with RMA several times. We took him around, did some walkthroughs, and his very preliminary list that still needs work, we're still waiting on some quotes, is 110 million.
For the list you have in front of you.
For the list you had in front of you. So about half.
If we did everything.
If we did everything. So, and this figure does include 15% for soft costs. Soft costs are architects, engineers, testing and balancing, all those fun things you don't think
Geotech.
about that you have to pay for when you're building facilities. and 12% inflation. That is from today until we start building, and it's estimated right now it's tracking at about 1% per month. It's below that. That's a conservative number. So when we come to you and say something is $1 million next time, that includes those figures already in there. So we're not going to say, you know, oh, you got to build a list to 40 million because we got to have 10. They're going to include those architect, soft costs, engineer fees, and inflation on them in those price tags. So y'all have homework as a bond committee. Start thinking about, between now and the 25th, what will the tax rate be that the committee proposes, a no tax rate or a tax rate increase? And then what projects will the committee propose? And remember that that also becomes what propositions. Do we have 2? Do we have 3, right? Because again, the Performing Arts Center, so I was speaking to the table of ladies here. Our bond council feels because where it's proposed at, attached to the high school, and that it holds instructional space in those tech theaters and those classrooms, that it could be part of Proposition A and not have to be standalone over here. We would have to send them, if we're going to move forward with it, I'm going to have to send them a whole scope of work. He'll have to talk to the architect that helped us estimate and get a final. He may even have to go to the Attorney General for opinion. But my preliminary conversation with him said we have a good chance that it is an instructional facility and could be part of Proposition A. But
Connected in fine arts.
Exactly. And attached to the band hall, integrating, you know, all those things factor into that. We're not going out to the Alamo land and dropping down a performing arts center and trying to call it instructional. That would be very different. So think about these things. That is what we will be working on as tables as we are today. We'll do a lot less talking up here at the front and a lot more activities at your tables. You're going to have all kinds of tools to work with to be able to get these things accomplished. Yes, sir.
In regards to the election, if we just say it was 50 million and we put 10 million on one bond and 40 million on another bond, and the $10 million bond failed, do we have access to 50 million?
No, sir.
No.
Because we increase the tax rate? So each bond is going to have a set amount that we're requesting.
Each proposition, yes. So the proposition will have a dollar amount and a list of items. Each one will. And voters will vote on them separately.
Yes.
So we kind of talked about a little bit about the first time is that, yes, if we put 10 million on one and it doesn't pass, we do not access those funds unless we try for another bond.
And we can't share projects, right?
No.
So if we have, call it academic, it's maintenance and operations, academic, all of that, and then athletics. If one or the other fails, we can't say, oh, we really like that project over there, so we're going to borrow some money. Like those projects are dead that are on that proposition that did not pass.
So then if the property and property combined were to be a 3-cent rate increase, but property fails for whatever reason, and property ended up only needed to be like a 2-cent tax increase amount, then the tax rate increase is only the 2 cent?
Yes.
Okay, so it's only going to increase the tax rate up to what it's
What passed.
between 2 or 3.
Yes. So basically the tax rate increase becomes a ceiling. So for example, for the 2018 bond, it was a 4-cent tax rate increase. For the first 2 years, we needed less than 4 cents to make our bond payment. And so then finally we've, got to a point where we needed all of it, and we were also prepaying off some early bonds. And so that authorizes us to go up to that limit. But I work with Bach every year to determine, can we fall a little softer? Do we need to take all 3 of those pennies to make the payment? Or because our tax base grew, we can take 2 pennies? It's a ceiling.
So then do the voters, to pay like the old bond, if you wanted to start paying up on that, is that something that would have to be approved, or is that something that y'all are allowed to do just without having it on?
Prepayments.
The prepayments?
So
the
board was 3,
right.
And you were only spending 1 a year, could you then just without consulting anybody spend that extra 2 cents to pay off the old bond?
The board does that. So we can only spend bond money from INS on either current projects that are approved or prepaying early. So what you can do as a school district, it's kind of like what you do at home, is I got a raise this year, I want to pay a little more towards my mortgage, so I pay it off early. So instead of lowering the INS tax rate, you leave it where the voters approved it for the bond election, and you use that gap to prepay taxes, which is what we've been doing for the past 4 years. And it's a board decision. The board handles it, Bach does the calculations, and but that's the only thing we can do with that money. You can't build a fund balance in your INS fund, and so we would either have to lower the rate or maintain the rate and prepay. And it builds bond. Our bond capacity is here because of growth in value and us prepaying those future.
And we can't just move it over to maintenance operation either.
So, do you want to go through this one?
So we opened up the Bond 2023 website. It's live. It's www.calallen.org/bond2023. We've been working on building it. Of course, we can't put too much on there until you call for a bond and we have some decisions. But we've put the presentation from last time in the PowerPoint. We'll put the presentation from this time and the PowerPoint available. We've also included some, that'll be under background because that's what goes to calling for a bond. We started a frequently asked questions, so just generic bond questions like what is a bond? How do you pay for a bond? What can you use it for? Those are added there. And then
district growth.
District growth. We added some of that PASA demographic information we shared last time. We'll be adding to that as we select projects and demographics impacts that. So we wanted to start getting the information out there, and so you have access to it. So if your friends ask questions, you have somewhere to point them to as well. This will flesh out as the committee determines whether or not they want to call for a bond. So all of the information regarding tax rate at that point, once you decide, will be part of that web page. We've built the background for that already. We'll include all the proposition information. We started information sheets for some of the propositions based on today, those that are the highest interest. That's how we also wanted to know so we could get started. So we can start information sheets that you can easily share about the propositions and individual items. So we're gonna have tons of information available here because it is the platform for our social media campaign and our just overall communication plan. So we have, I think we have a slide on it next. So we've started the website and that will feed into our social media. We're going to do the town halls. I'm gonna call out Jose in the back. Jose is one of our instructional technologists. He has a great background in production, and so he's gonna keep recording those. We want to make everything transparent so everybody has access to it. Information sheets will be developed for each proposition and every major project. Communication from the superintendent will go on a regular basis in terms of the development and what we're doing and why. And then we also have signs and posters at campuses and departments with QR codes that will take anybody that wants information to our website. And then we'll also have home mailers for everybody in our district, in our residential zone. That will be a flyer just about what we're asking for and why.
So I also want to add in here that we talked about it at the first meeting, but we can only share facts as a school district, right? So keep in mind that all of these things that we produce are just going to be very factual in nature. Prop A, the total dollar amount, the things that are included, right? We can't even put things like, please vote with any kind of like check mark icon next to it is actually us trying to sell a bond and is against the law, right? So we have to stick to election day is this day. Here's where you can vote, right? Like it has to be very vanilla and very factual. I would love to get on the camera with Emily and sell this. We can't, we're not allowed to. So you're gonna see these things just be very factual in nature as they're produced and come out.
So thank you. As soon as we have pricing, we will get that out to you so you can do homework ahead of time. And that's gonna be, you're gonna be doing the work next time. So we thank you for your time. We appreciate what you're donating to us in terms of making this happen. It's for the betterment of our kids. So thank you, thank you,
yes.
Thank you. And we will see you on what day? January 25th.
Yes.